What's up, everybody? It's your girl Naisha Stone, the founder of Carving Stone, your weekly source of positive news. And we're back with our fourth episode of CNS IG Live with Positive Black Women. I am excited because today we have one of my close friends, Nadeena Granville, who is the founder and owner of the media agency Gang Visuals. So I'm very excited for her to come on here to promote her platform and her business and what she does for others. And here she is. I'm so excited. Here we go. And I always, every time. Hey,
Hey,
I believe what you're doing. I
nothing. I
love
kind
you.
of been running around today, so this is gonna be my first time sitting still.
You look beautiful. Look at you.
Thank
I love it.
you.
So, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, my name is Naisha Stone. We have my close friend Nadeena Granville from Gaining Visuals, and I'm really excited to talk about your media agency, your brand, and just building up businesses. So, first of
Yeah.
all, how have you been? What was your day like?
Today, I have been up. I just I had this burst of energy to clean my whole apartment. So my whole apartment is spotless right now, and that's when I can like think the clearest. I wanted to look around and be on live and be here and just be like, all right, we good.
What did you clean up? What's the one? Is there any room in your
Laundry.
don't like cleaning or
Laundry is the
your place
biggest thing.
to clean?
I
Laundry?
had 6 loads of laundry to do. And then I was editing as well as I was doing all of that. So,
See, I'm cool with doing laundry. I don't like dishes. Dishes are
mm,
first short enough.
there's definitely dishes in there.
You know how I feel about them.
Mhm.
I will let them stack. But cool. Again, thank you for everybody that's joining in for the fourth episode of seeing this IG Live with Positive Black Women.
Hey.
I want to talk about gaining visuals. So,
Yes.
what year did you start it? And when you first started it, what were the first thing like? What was the reason you started it? And is that still the same reason of why you're running it today?
Yeah. So, unofficially, I started it in 2017. I was friends, one of my best friends, his cousin was an influencer at the time. And at that time, it was kind of like that wasn't like a thing. Like it was like she was out here really doing, she had 100,000 followers. And at that time, that was a really big deal. And so we took a trip and she really put me onto the game of like how to be an influencer, how to take photos, like how to connect with people. And so she ended up becoming my first client. I did a video where I edited one of her travel videos. And so at the end of that, she paid me. I was like, what? Like, that's crazy. I can get paid to do this. And so it's the same story again with another company. He had his own company, but he also runs another one. And so he wanted me to help start his YouTube stuff. And so I did all his brand strategy. We did the branding. We set up the like promo video and everything. And at the end of that, he paid me. And so at this point, it was my sophomore and junior year. I'm at Maya and I'm like, all right, like people are paying me for this. And like, I need to figure out how to make this a business. And so I didn't officially start it until 2019. Well, 218, let me back up. So 218, I was trying to figure out what my thesis was going to be. As a filmmaker, I really wanted to do a short film for my thesis, but I knew I wasn't going to have enough time because at that point I had made 4 short films and I was like, I just don't want to keep doing that. And so I made all of my classes basically. I switched every single assignment to me making my business plan, me making my demo reel, me figuring out what kind of clients I want to have. I designed all my business cards, all my logos. Like that was the time my senior
A
year where I
go
really
getter.
pounded it out. Yes, because I knew by the end, because they kept on asking, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do once you graduate? Like, and I'm like,
I don't
okay.
know.
So I was like, let me do a proof of concept with my business. I was working with Splash Studio at that time and a few other companies, and I was doing marketing. And so I used the stuff that I was doing for them, and then I did some mock stuff for different companies of what I would do if someone were to hire me. And so at the thesis show, I got 3 clients right away, and I was super geeked. I was so happy. And I was just like, wow, like, okay. So I didn't officially start it until October 1st, 2019. Once I did the math that summer, I was still working for that organization. I did the math and I realized I was losing out on money. And once I did that math, it was pretty simple for me. I was like, all right, guys, I gotta go. I need to go do this thing on my own. And yeah, that's how Getting Visuals started. And it kind of pivot a little bit, obviously with COVID and different things, but that's how it started originally.
So I know you know what it's like to be like a black woman walking and a creative, but me and you are in two
Mm-hmm.
fields. So when it comes to the film industry, for me personally, like being a person that's like contracting the film and black women, it's very hard to find y'all. So what can we do to like for one, find
Mm-hmm.
y'all, but two, to make sure that we're doing enough to support y'all to want to be found.
Yeah.
Oh, I know you're there. I know that there are black women in film, and y'all are really needed. But what support do y'all need, or like just how can we connect with y'all in a real way where y'all don't feel like y'all being used?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like just as a black woman, we're always going to feel like we're being used. We're just always going to be an other. It's just we're a hot commodity. So, like, I'm never against that. I definitely felt some type of way, especially during COVID, because there was definitely a call for that once the Black Lives Matter movement happened. The way I found my group, my community, was through Black filmmakers and the Black women photographers. That really let me know that I wasn't out here alone, that I was not the only person out here hustling behind the camera as a Black woman. As far as what you guys can do for us, it's just promoting our stuff. It's just getting that word out. Like whenever someone is asking for a filmmaker or someone behind the camera that is of color, like promoting us as Black women behind the scenes and just doing that word of mouth because we can only do so much as we're running businesses and shooting and doing stuff.
So we're talking about right now what building brands and all that stuff. But if we back up a little bit, like you have a background in just music, so you play
Mm-hmm.
instruments, and then also like you have a background in like acting, theater, and stuff like that. So can you talk about that background and maybe how that led you up to like where you are now, or just even what that background meant to you still now to this day?
Yeah. Well, I've gone to art schools my entire life, from elementary all the way to college. So it was a no-brainer for me to do art and be an artist because I've been an artist for over, now we're at almost 18, 19 years. So I started with music, playing piano, bass, and guitar. And that's what I did for primarily 6 years old, all the way up into my senior year. I did not want to do that as a career. I still have passions. Like I do compose a lot, especially for films, but I knew that wasn't going to be the thing that like woke me up because I was practicing my instruments 2 hours every single day since I was a kid. And so that was like, I don't want to say too easy, but it was already something I've had perfected. I've been on stage, I performed in front of thousands of people, I've done the shows. Like I don't I don't need that for me to be like feel like I need a success. I feel like that has been accomplished. And I wanted to figure out something new. I wanted to be new at something. I just didn't know what. So when I went to MyAd, I originally went for interior architecture, but then that was kind of cutthroat. They were very savage. It's a very rigorous course, and I just wasn't emotionally mature and ready for that space yet. But I'm very thankful that I did that because it influences like how I do my set designs now. But once I picked up my camera, because I was doing a lot of like album covers for my friends and grad photos, like just as a side hustle. But then I realized that like once I made my first short film, that storytelling was my passion. And once I had my first critique where they did not like my photos, I was like, okay, we gonna do videos, like, and we gonna fit this out. And that's how I found editing to be my passion. And I'm kind of all over the place as far as like creatively where I'm at right now, but I try to have all mediums kind of speak to me based off of whichever project is going on.
Mm. So, are there any projects right now that you want to speak about that you have going on, or is there anything new about your business when it specifically comes to animation that you talk about?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're converting to photo and video only. We had a lot of business because of the pandemic. We did get a lot of people for social media marketing, brand strategy, and web development. But at this point, I feel like I'm transitioning to making it more of a PDF instead of like a one-on-one, just because like a lot of people just need to fill it out. Like it's a plug and play at this point. I've built systems. Other people can figure out where they want to either rebranding or just starting their brand. And that's one of the things I'm kind of pushing towards. So now it's going to be strictly only content creation.
So, you know, like we use the word creative a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like we've been using it for a few years now. Like but do you think, and this I've never asked this question before, honestly, and it just came to my head. You think the industry of creative, like being a creative, existed back then? And if so, like what did that look like? How did we get to this point where we have creatives now? Like, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, creators are always around. Being creative is like, I feel like right now there's a heavy title for it because it's like, you know, being an artist, being creative, you think like music or some type of like mode, but like even taking a different route when there's traffic, that's a way to be creative. And that's one of the things I try to push when it comes to people when they say they aren't artists or they aren't creative. Cause like it's just a process. It's just trying to figure out like how to do something a little bit different than it hasn't been before, and how you, because of your life experiences, can make it your own. And so I feel like previously, especially within the past decade, without technology, creativity has been more tangible, and now it's more digital and more experience based. And so creatives are always going to be around. They are what drives and moves the market and the industry just in general. That's what inspires half of businesses today. And yeah, I just think creatives should be more appreciated for sure. But unless you're a creative yourself, it's kind of hard to understand like how much is going on in the process to get that end product.
We've privately talked about this, but can you publicly share something where, and I can even share my side of like what it actually means to be a creative, and like from my experience, a lot of people, and I had a podcast, it hasn't came out yet, coming out in a few weeks, but she asked me about fear.
Mm.
Nobody's ever asked me about fear, and she was like, "I've seen you pitch a competition, and I've seen you present.
Period.
But you just seem like you always had this confidence. Are you not fearful?" And you know this. My very first, if you guys watched my very first episode, I actually had to call Nadeena because I was crying about 30 minutes before my very first episode because something happened with one of my friends, and I couldn't have it. And I was like, I have to go online, but I'm crying. I cannot stop crying. Those are the type of things people do not talk about.
Yeah.
Like I have went on TV and have went through things in relationships, have went through things like, you know, with friends, and
Yep.
played this role. And so can you talk about like that side of being creative, entrepreneur, or just being a damn human being, of like what it's like to just like you have to put, not even put on this persona, but you have to gather yourself to, you know,
Yeah.
keep your business running or keep whatever you have going.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about this year. So like this year was probably my hardest year in comparison to probably my senior year of college, because that was when my bunny died, my mom got in a car accident. There was a lot of things happening. I was still traveling, like in social media world and just like life in perspective, unless you're a close friend, you really don't know what's going on within my life. And I try to keep it that way just because like personal things definitely they affect me, but I've learned through. Okay, so one of the quotes that I had when I first started doing influencer stuff was feel the fear and do it anyways. And so that's what got me to a point where like even if I was having a bad day, and even when I've done previous lives, like I put that in the stuff. Like I try to make sure that we don't, just like how you're doing now, we don't push it off to the side. We always acknowledge it, because I feel like when, especially now, I mean, with video stuff now, we're here. We can show our personality, we can see what's going on. But back in the day, it used to be still photos. And so me smiling and doing this for 3 seconds, My photographer, he will tell you I have a resting bitch face like at all times.
You know how I am.
So like it's one of those things where I feel like you have to you have to acknowledge it, especially when it comes to just your healing and just being okay as a human. But there is something towards being able to muster up your courage and your energy and being like, okay, let's get this done, let's get this accomplished, because emotions are just passing. Like they're just moving, and as much as we're heightened at that moment, it's it's gonna be something that, you know, you can reflect on a little bit later. So I try to not. But if I'm having a sad day, I'll let people know. At the beginning of the meeting, I'll be like, listen, y'all, I have not ate. So if I'm a little hangry, that's why you got the energy you do. But I try to set myself up for success before anything. But life happens. So you just have to give yourself grace. Like, grace is going to be the biggest thing, especially as you're building your brand and your business and just growing as a person, to just be able to forgive yourself for how you present yourself in whatever space and time, because life happens.
The biggest thing I do with myself is forgiving, whether that's forgiving other people or forgiving myself.
Yeah.
How do you deal with forgiveness, or do you have a way of dealing with forgiveness? Are you good with it? 'Cause I'm not good.
Yeah. I'm, and I've gotten better about this over the years. I try to put myself in their shoes. Like this past week, I was very upset about a situation, and I gave myself 48 hours to be mad, like genuinely upset. Like, I'm feeling this, I'm upset. I let it out. I let my friends know I'm expressing it, but then I try to take a beat, and I write a lot too, especially as like just a filmmaker. I just write just in general. And so I try to switch my brain to be like, okay, let me figure out the different perspectives that they might be going through. Like maybe they had a bad day, maybe they didn't eat, maybe, you know, they had some past experience in their like other relationships or home life or whatever. And that makes it easier for me to forgive or give grace, because just like how I don't share everything, other people don't share everything too. So it's like you have to give that same grace you want to give to yourself. And yeah, forgiving is hard though, like especially if you're not in that practice already, like, but you have to do it, because like how else can you expect it for yourself?
No, that's you know, I'm learning. I'm learning. And that's why I come to you for advice as well. How has impact, because we don't in this IG Live of positive black women. So how have other black women impacted you personally or professionally?
Yeah, I mean, Issa Rae is the blueprint for me right now. She's been giving all the sauce away. Like, I feel like black women aren't afraid to uplift other black women. Like, that's one of the things that I feel like is the most valuable thing about our community. And it's like we're never afraid to be like, come on, girl, where we need to go, what we need to do, like what you need done. Like, and that's what has really influenced me just as an individual to like be the kind of person and creative that I am, because my like within my team, like we are black women, and like creating that safe space is like a really big deal for all of us. And I didn't have that while I was navigating college. I didn't really have that group of community while I was in school that much. And so being able to like build that out now has been great. And like I know Cree, she was in here, she's another person that influences me like crazy. Like just having that support, it's just it's a family, it's a second family. It's like you're just I'm just thankful, like truly thankful, because if I didn't have that, if we didn't have our connection, like I don't know, like it can be lonely, but it doesn't have to be. And that's what I feel like black women really do for the community.
I do want to say I love being a sick. Shout out to virtual. You know,
Period.
my code. But if you're just joining CNS IG Live Positive Black Women, my name is Laisha Stone, and this is Carmen Stone, your weekly source of positive news. We have Nadeena, who is the owner of Gaining Visuals, a media agency. So I want to get back into it. I know you work with multiple big brands,
Yeah.
partner with them. So can you talk about, for one, how do you connect with some like that? Is it a DM? Or is it multiple ways? Like, how do you get connected with a big brand that you work with? And then what do those partnerships look like?
Yeah, so there's so many different kinds of platforms, especially for influencers or just micro influencers. So if you're looking to like connect with them, the plug Nomad, but what is X is one of the websites that I'm on. So that's how I was able to find my Pine Sol slash Clorox connection. And then there's a few different apps. Okay, there's Vamp. There is, I should know these off the dome.
And it's
I'm definitely gonna put this in the comments when we come back to visit this. But there's a few different apps and different platforms. If you just search like influencer marketing, but you can do it the OG way. You don't have to do apps and all of that. For me, back in the day when I first started, I slid in DMs. I was never afraid to slide in DMs. So I would just, especially when it comes to like businesses that I knew were active on social media. So I would do like a proof of concept essentially. So I would take a photo, post it on Instagram, tag them. If they liked and commented, then I would slide in their DM and be like, hey, I would love to partner with you guys. Do you have any person, like a direct person in marketing? So that's how you get it. Do you have a very specific person in marketing email that I can have
Yep.
so I can reach out? So there's a few different platforms in which you can use to figure out your engagement rate and all of that. And that's how I was able to pretty much pitch and sell myself. So I was pretty much short and simple because I used to write really long emails. Being in marketing, I don't read long emails. I like it short and sweet. So I used to be like, hey, my page is Untitled G. I have a 5% engagement rate. This is how many followers I have. Let me know if you guys are looking to partner. So they do all the work. They do all the research. I don't have to sell myself. They can look at my profile and decide. And then they would come back. And that's what I would do on Sundays. So Sundays is when I would send out those emails, and then they would get back to me, I don't know, like Thursday or Friday. And if they didn't, I would follow up on Thursday and Friday. And so that's really how I built those connections. And once I had one, I just kept that ball rolling. Hey, I just did something with Clorox, and that's how I got with Canva. And then once I did Canva, then I was like, okay, I'm going to do like, and I just kept it going. I kept it going because like they want to see and they want to be next. But my next move, especially when it comes to partnering, I want to do more just only one company. Like I really want to do Sony next. That's my next one because I'm an alpha woman for sure. And then I've been working with Adobe, so that's another one that I'm trying to lock down right now.
Before I say what I'm going to say, I don't know if you saw me get up, but Jasmine is crying at my door, and he's crying right now, and he's getting on my. I would have not gotten up, but you know how he is, because you know you're funny. And he's literally like,
yep.
Now he's walking out the room after I got up during the interview. So
yeah.
I want to get back to what you was talking about. When it comes to working with the big companies, there's always this saying that like you treat the janitor the same person as like you treat the CEO. Can you talk about that? And especially because for me personally, sometimes when I deal with the bigger companies, they're sometimes a little bit more difficult to work with. But sometimes I work with little companies that can be. But like when it comes to just like clients, like what is your experience with just working with just like different clients? Because you can work with not cheaper, but just smaller clients. You can work with clients. Like, is there a difference in how do you treat and how do you like manage and treat these relationships?
Yeah. So I've noticed with smaller businesses, it's definitely more of a one-on-one experience. So I definitely have to enjoy working with them. I'm not afraid to leave a project or leave a company because we are not a good fit, honey. Okay. Because there are too many opportunities, too many people. And the thing is, especially about big companies, they rotate out, like people leave to go to other companies. So like that marketing person might not be there next year. So it's like, making sure that it is a good fit is going to be the first thing that I do. But then second, when it comes to big companies, they're tighter on schedules. So like that's the one thing. I'm already super like anal when it comes to organization and just making sure things are done in the correct time. But that's been the hardest part about bigger companies. It's just making sure like we meet those deadlines. And even with life and just moving parts, big companies, you still have to move and adjust things around. So being flexible has been my biggest like my biggest accomplishment when it comes to working with these brands, just because like anything can happen, anything can change, anything can switch. And you just making sure like my mentor used to say like they don't want to work with somebody who's great, they want to work with someone who's easy to work with. And so that's what I used to be really, really focused on. Is like, okay, I don't want you, like, I want to like you at the end of this project. I want us to like each other at the end of the project. And we can butt heads during projects, but like near the end,
I
like,
still want to like you.
yes, I still want to like you. So that's been the biggest thing for me, I feel like, with these businesses.
Okay, so little off topic. We both from, it's getting hot. It's summertime.
Mm-hmm.
What you doing this summer?
I mean, I've been outside. I'm literally going to Summerfest after this, so like that's definitely something I'm doing. I'm gonna be networking more, so like I miss networking. I'm such a networking queen. That was something that like was a passion of mine before the pandemic hit. I don't like virtual networking. Like I do the conferences. I appreciate it though, because there's been conferences that I wouldn't fly out to or have accessible like access to be at that were virtual that I now like have information that I wouldn't have. But like in person, it's just a different experience. So being able to go back in networking and out in the community and seeing my people, seeing the people, like the creatives, like on stage, like I'm just here to support all the people that I've met and and built relationships through the pandemic. And that's really my focus this summer. I'm finishing out my first full feature film. So that's another thing I'm working on this summer. Yeah. And yeah, just restructuring my business. That's going to be the hardest thing, because a lot of people still want to come for brand strategy, but I think I might do that on the side as like consulting.
I've never had, well, I won't say I never, but I've never publicly or like really talked to somebody about restructuring my business, because now I'm in the process of like, we cover positive news, but our big part is PR. Like our main part of Carving Stone now on the front end, it still look like positive news, but on the business side, it's all PR. And so hear you say like you're kind of changing what you're doing. It kind of like it gives me a little bit of encouragement, because I was just scared, like, sometimes like you like, well, I thought this was like the winning thing, but it was just the winning thing to get you that next stage, to elevate to that next thing, to that next thing, to whatever that next thing is. So with your media agency, you talk about branding a lot. What does it mean to be a brand, and how do you be a good brand? And the reason I ask this is because I never started Carving Stone to be a business, but then after it's been 5 years, I finally understand like, oh, like colors, you need logos, you need these certain things, but still, that's not fully a brand. It's a whole other thing too as well. So can you talk about that? Because a lot of people are becoming entrepreneurs now, or getting into the creative world, or marketing, or photography, videography, whatever it is. But what is a brand?
Yeah, I feel like a brand is more of like a voice. Like I feel like yes, the colors and the logos are definitely important, but what you're saying and how you say it and the community in which you built with that is what makes a good brand. And so, like obviously I hate to do like big companies. I'm trying to think of more of a smaller one, but let me try to think. So, okay, obviously with McDonald's, the arch, but like their brand, the most recognizable thing is their Sprite, like their soda. And then same with Wendy's, like their Twitter, they have a very strong voice where it's like they're sassy and they're like kind of like trending kind of voice. And so I feel like it's more of like how you engage your community than the look and appearance of everything. The look and appearance is definitely what needs to be in the box, but like what's happening inside of the box is what makes your brand strong. So like how you're doing positive news, like that's still a part of the brand. That's still an active thing that is moving forward, even though it's not all that you do. It's still something that people know you for and know how to like recommend your company for. And that's, I feel like, what makes a good brand is how other people can pitch your company when you're not there. And that all comes from how you voice yourself, how you write yourself, the kind of people you're trying to talk to and attract.
what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs or creatives, young people, specifically black people, and specifically black women, like young girls? It's just about being yourself in these type of spaces. So whether it's an interview, right? Because a lot of
Yeah.
times we don't have interviews with two black women. Hardly
Period.
ever. And I get the cuss
Period.
because it's my platform, but
Okay.
we fucking ever get to have a platform where it's
Yep.
just us. But what advice would you give to other, young us? I mean, like even 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, us in high school, whatever. We didn't even know each other back then,
Yeah.
about just being you, no matter whether it's in a relationship, in a business relationship, whether it's just a random person like you're interacting with. Because a lot of times, we are told, switch up your hair,
Right.
dress up, or where it is, why you talking like that, why you know.
Yeah. I mean, to my 14-year-old self, I feel like the first thing I would say is it's not a competition. I feel like within the outside world, they try to pit us against each other and make it seem like we have to like butt heads. We aren't, but it's like we can uplift each other. We can be right next to each other. We can build that community. My 14-year-old self, I would say not be afraid to market myself. I feel like, while being humble is great, don't get me wrong, you have to be your biggest fan. Like, you have to teach other people how to support you and how to love you and how to treat you and how you want to be received to the rest of the world. So I feel like being your biggest fan and not being afraid to market yourself and talk about all the amazing things, because just being a black woman is amazing, period. But then too, like, if you're doing whatever you're doing, not being afraid to walk into the room and being like, yep, I have my own business. Yep. I have my own degree. Yep. I am an artist. And being so proud of that and standing 10 toes down in that, because no one can take that away. That's you. And I feel like, people look down on people who are like loud and proud and like maybe called arrogant, but it's like, no, I'm just speaking my truth. I'm living it too. I'm living proof. So not being afraid to exist in your abundance and what you have manifested and worked hard to do. Like, this is not easy work. Like, being an entrepreneur is not easy any day, anytime. Like, it is an ebb and flow that just is crazy, but it's a fun journey in the sense of you learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about your community, and you learn a lot about whatever you're passionate about.
I want to stay on the topic of entrepreneurship because I want to talk about how do you have the discipline
Mm.
and what does it mean to have discipline? Because, so for me, right, I naturally wake up at 7:30 because I need to get some darker curtains. First of all, I need some black, like fully blackout ones, because they wake me up.
Yeah.
But I wake up and I immediately tell myself that you need to check your phone, and whether that's go on social media to see if people interacted to my life, or whether it's interacted to Carving Stone, or someone's email Carving Stone or email me. But I always feel like I need to always check on other people. But then I also have this other discipline where it's like, okay, you actually need to focus on what matters to you and whatever matters to Carving Stone. So what does discipline look like to you, whether it's personally or business wise, and how do you stop other people's duties or expectations of you from getting in the way of your own discipline that you have for yourself?
Yeah. Well, my first time learning discipline was when I was prepping to go to California College of the Arts. It was my first time leaving Milwaukee and like really studying outside of anything I've ever done. So I literally had to wake up at 4 a.m. I had 3 jobs. I was full time in school. So, like, for me, discipline is being so busy that you can't even notice other people's stuff. And that has its good things, its good sides and its bad sides. But consistency breeds results. Like, if you do something every single day, if you have a system, like a routine, just even like a morning routine or night routine, just even how I clean up, like, it's gonna show results. And so that's what drives me when I wake up and I don't feel like doing anything, because there are days when I be like, yo, I don't want to do this. But it's like, okay, no, if I get this done, then I can do this. And if I do this, it's a trade off. Your time is always a trade off. So making sure that I know what the advantages or the results or the rewards of that product is. Like my laundry, for example, I have all clean clothes. I have outfits for days now. Like, okay, cool, that's done. Or if I finish a project, I'm like, okay, I have, obviously there's monetary value, but like now that's one project done with that client, and now we can move on to the next one. So it's like being able to see ahead of what that end goal is going to be and let that be my driving force to accomplishing whatever needs to be done.
So before you get to the goals, you have to have systems, and you talked about systems a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one thing I'm working on with one of my mentors is creating processes and the technical. My point is like talking about the technicals of business. So we talk about being the front of the business and posting social media and doing these lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to really have a good business, you have to have systems and processes. And that's one thing that we don't talk about. And that's something I'm still building out with Carving Stone. Just for example, when people write an article, I need a list of directions on how you write this article and how you publish it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, with us being as young as we are, 24, 25, 26, 27, like in the mid 20s, 30s eventually. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
But is this stuff still not foreign to you? Or like, how do you think about this stuff? Like, because when I have these meetings with like these 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, and they're like, yeah, like this is how we do this. We've been doing this for 30 years. I am 25. I didn't even know this word existed until like 5 years ago. You know what I mean? And so like, how do you manage? I guess I have a lot of questions in one, but how do you manage not necessarily knowing everything that other people in your industry know before you?
I'm a YouTube queen, and I love to network. So between the two, we gonna figure it out. Like, yes, there's jargon, and that's how they, gatekeeping. That's the whole thing. But like, it's necessary to go through that path. I feel like, because once you go down a rabbit hole, you learn all the different words and terms and all of that. You locked in. You ain't got to learn it again. And so school definitely helped. I learned a lot through that. Doing these kinds of things, like networking with other business owners and entrepreneurs and hearing about their systems and different things that they do, that helps. Comparing notes is what we always say. Like, let's compare notes, see how we're doing things a little bit differently. Like, sometimes it's exactly the same, sometimes it's completely different. But being able to steal as an artist, like, and take little things that might work for you based off of wherever you are, and being able to make a note. I have journals. I'm saying like 4 years of journals of notes from different conversations with people that I'm like, I'm waiting for things that I know I can't do right now, but like I will eventually be able to incorporate. And so making sure that even when I'm picking up information just in small conversations, knowing that somehow down the line, even if it's next week or next year or in 10 years, it's going to help some way. So writing stuff down definitely helps. YouTube University is free. There's platforms like Skillshare and all of that. Like, you can definitely pay for it, but like YouTube is free. I don't know if there's going to be a day. Obviously, they monetize with the ads, but like, I don't know if there's going to be a day where they change that up. But like, YouTube.
Okay, so you said you learned. I learned from talking to other people. We talked about networking a little bit. Since I've been in the entrepreneur world, I've heard the word networking, right? But I've never heard anybody actually describe networking. I've just experienced it straight on. So, are you able to describe in your own words networking? And if not, can you describe how people can network? Either
Networking
or both.
Networking is knowing who to talk to before you get there, period. If you haven't done your research before you get to the space, then you've already lost.
Oh, we different. I promise you. I'll comment on that. I'll comment on that.
No, like, I don't know. Like, as a research queen, I search the organization, I search the actual location, I search the sponsors, I search if there's like people who are winning awards, or if there's people who are speaking, I search them. And I already have like goals that I want to accomplish for the year and just in general. So if I know that somebody has wrote a book and I'm thinking about writing a book, I'm going to go to them. Like, and I feel like a lot of people try to talk to everyone, and that's, you don't have that much time. Like, you can definitely do it, but then it's like speed dating, and that's not a good way to build a relationship. You really want to be able to be like, hey, just like how you're interviewing now, hey, I know that you did this, so like, is there any tips as far as like how you get out of the slump when you're writing, or like if you're doing this, like, and that's, for me, that's true networking, when you already know what they're about and you're pretty much just making sure like you can just start from the jump. Like, I'm here with you, I've seen what you've done, let me tell you about me real quick, but like, I have one specific question that I know, or I hope you can answer.
That's crazy, because I guess I'm a speed dater in the sense that if I know it's an event and say like it's a public, like a city event, let's say we're in the city of Milwaukee, I know it's a city hall event. I know for a fact at least the mayor's going to be there, or some big person. I may not know who at all in the room is there. So what I personally do is, and what I used to do was, so now I feel like I kind of got to know people and I do a little bit more research. But when I first started doing it, I would say, okay, well, I know this is an event that my usual circle wouldn't go to. And the usual people I hang with is my friends. So I know we want to go to this. So I know that's a gain in itself. But then I would say, okay, if this is for the city or if this is for whatever this is, I just know my thing is when I get there, I listen. Yep. And so I listen to what's around me. So whether that's the speakers, whether I hear people around me, because I'm going to engage. Because, I love talking to people. So I'm going to just listen, and my smile brings people to me. But then once I start, I always go just wanting to make relationships. Just like, hey, just give myself, I'm going to spread my news. That's how I always thought of it as. I never went going to say, hey, I'm gaining something from you. I always went knowing I was going to give you something, and it was if you wanted to give me something back. And so that worked out for me. And so, but when I found out, like when I did like ear hustles sometimes, like, oh, that's the Bucks president. Hey, my name is da 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 da. And so, but I never intentionally researched. And I told you this, I don't even I do research before my interviews. Always make sure like you want to know the.
That's Mochi in a nutshell.
The disrespect, like.
Oh, we.
Excuse me, Jasmine. Everyone, he's a boy. Oh my gosh, he totally caught me off guard. But you know what? That was too much. That was. Since he climbed up on the desk, I want to bring up your bunny. Please talk about your bunny.
My rabbit, Mochi. Yeah, he's in his room right now. I don't know. He's more. I originally got him because I wanted him to be like my scruffy little guy. I had a girl rabbit for I think 12 years. I had her, and so she was my coming of age. But she was real sweet, real cuddly. Mochi is not. He likes to play around, jump everywhere, destroy everything. He's definitely a guy's guy. So we don't got him out right now.
What's the maintenance of a bunny? Because so I've heard that they bounce around and shit everywhere. Is this true?
That's it. That's all they do. They're high maintenance. Like, you have to, if you don't play with them, they get depressed and die. Like, that's a fact. Like, they can't be by themselves for a very long time. They can survive for 4 days, I think, and I shouldn't know this, but I do. They can survive 4 days without food and water, as long as you have water, not without food. But yeah, they're definitely hard to train, but once they're trained, they're really easy. They're just like a cat or a dog. So
if I was Wonder Bunny, when I heard about the jumping and the shitting, I was like,
when you put it like that, yeah.
But we're coming up on time, and so honestly, the last question I have for you is, as you know, you've seen me interview people a million times. Last question I have is, when people come back and rewatch this interview, what impact? What do you want them to think? What do you want them to feel? What do you want them to get?
Yeah, you are not alone as an entrepreneur. I thought that as an entrepreneur, that meant I was only doing it by myself, that I was only, doing it for me. But you have to have community, whether that be other Black women or just other creators. But making sure that you know and you build your own community so you're not feeling alone and you can reach out to other people.
I love it. Well, thank you so much.
Yep.
Again, my name is Naisha Stone. I'm with Carving Stone. We're your weekly source of positive news. We are in our 4th episode of the CNS IG Live with Positive Black Women. We have my very close friend, Nadeena Granville, of Gaining Visuals, a media agency. So if you're looking for photography, videography, and maybe branding, you're going to have to hit her up for the specific.
Yep.
But make sure Gaining Visuals, exactly how you spell it, at make sure to reach out to her and make sure to tune in every single Thursday of this summer. And we're going to continue this series throughout the year. So I thank you so much and join us next Thursday. All right, see you, Nadeena.
Bye, guys.